This is Free Speech Thursday on Friday on Thursday, brought to you by the Free Speech Union, fsu.nz. They do fantastic work promoting and protecting free speech in New Zealand. fsu.nz, do visit them. Who is with us today? Bob McCoskrie, CEO of Family Voice. Bob, welcome to you. Mate, someone was mentioning online the other day, when were you last invited on to Radio New Zealand?
Might have been the anti-smacking law in 2007. And in fact, it was an interview with you.
Well, that's years ago. Jeez, yes. Bob. So you literally have been non-personed by Radio. You've been totally cancelled by them.
Not only Radio New Zealand, News Talk ZB, New Zealand
Will
Herald.
ZB not talk to you?
No. Really, after the abortion debate in 2001, the phone just stopped ringing. They just didn't want anything to do with me. So, no, we've been cancelled, but that's okay. I always tell people that being cancelled is like going through puberty. You're dead scared of it, but once you've gone through it, it's awesome.
It's very liberating. And also joining us, Auckland Councillor Maurice Williamson. Maurice, I've been reading coverage of the local government conference, whatever, in Wellington today. You people pulled out of local government, or has Auckland City Council got someone down in Wellington for this talk fest?
No, absolutely not. We pulled out. It was $750,000 for nothing. If you read any of the paperwork that they were producing at the time, it was the most appalling woke. Everything was about, our obligations to the treaty, and I kept saying, hang on, I kept being told the treaty was a document signed between the Crown and iwi. What has local government got to do with that organisation? We didn't sign anything. Oh, no, we're all included in it. And in the end, we were spending $750,000, I would say not for nothing, for the actual opposite of nothing. Dreadful, dreadful rubbish. So we pulled out, and no, there won't be anyone from Auckland Council at their little soiree today.
Now, I am lucky to have you both because I realise that you may have been preparing, you may have been at some meditation thing or travelling to observe the ancient customs of Matariki, Bob, aren't you?
No, I just acknowledge that it's a special day to Māori, but in the same way that some people take off Christmas Day and Easter and it means nothing to them, but it means a huge amount to me, I just respect people for where they're at. That's what free speech is about.
Is it a special day to Maori, Bob? Has it always been a special day for Maori, Bob?
You'd have to ask them. Can't speak on their behalf.
I don't think it has. I think, I'd say that Bathurst is a more special day for petrol heads than Matariki is for Maori, but that might just be me being a terrible post-colonial racist. Maurice, what are you doing? Aren't you gathering with the whānau for a spiritual experience?
Let me try to answer that question you just asked Bob. I grew up in Matamata, played rugby there and played rugby in the Waikato, worked at the bulk stores at the Waharoa Dairy Company for my university times, mixed with mainly Māori people. I went to barbecues at people like Tai Winiata was almost a mentor to me. I never heard the words Matariki mentioned in my entire life until recent years. I'd heard about the seven sisters of the Pleiades, because the Greeks had something special about these stars. I'd even the Japanese respond to Subaru. But somehow recently we've gone and taken an entire day's holiday, and I still can't understand for what, because there are certain stars 400 light years away that do what?
Yeah, well, no, because, and I just want to, there were about 3 or 4 Matariki stories in the Dominion Post today, including a heartfelt piece by Matt, who's a social worker, and Matt Renata. But don't you understand, Matariki has always had answers for us. It carries deep truths about how we live, how we care for our world, and how we honour those who have come before us. It teaches us to live with balance, with intention, and with gratitude. Matariki invites us to return to that enchanted way of being.
So there's one burning question there. These are a group of stars 400 light years away. When you go out and look for the stars tonight and spot them, the light that's arriving here left those stars 400 years ago. How does that change your well-being? I don't get it.
Well,
yeah, but you could use
Bob,
the same
you could
argument.
explain it for him.
Hang on. There was a star that led the wise men to the baby Jesus, and a lot of people don't believe in that. I do. So at the end of the day, it comes down to individual bliss. But I can't believe that you guys are against a long weekend. I mean, you guys need your head read.
Yeah, I must admit that. And let's be honest, that is all it is, Bob. It's a long weekend.
Well, I'll tell you why I'm against it. I'm thoroughly against it. Poor old bloody employers are having to pay for a group of stars.
That's all right. They won't have to pay sick leave soon if everything we read in the newspapers is true. You know, you'll have to be literally on your deathbed before you're allowed to take a day off sick soon, Maurice.
Well, how did Luxon get that so wrong? He was on with Mike Hosking, and Hosking said, it used to be 5 days a year. Then the Labor government went and made it 10. And he said, don't worry, Brooke Van Velden's working on that, and, you'll see an announcement soon. She came out 2 hours later with an announcement. It's on the Radio New Zealand website as of 2 days ago. I am not working on it, and we're not doing anything to take the 10 days back to 5. I'm looking at I'm working on pro-ratering those who are part-time or temporary staff, but I'm not doing anything with. So the minister who's supposed to have been doing all the work with an announcement soon has not been doing any work.
That is a bit of a misstep by Mr. Draw a face on a thumb, Mr. Luxon. He's up in China, isn't he, Bob?
Yeah, and I find it fascinating that we're, it's actually China that is, I know we're going to talk about Iran and Israel. It's interesting that China has come out in support of Iran and says, they're just, peacemakers and we need to somehow negotiate with them. Look, I'm probably jumping a topic. It's just very interesting, the attitude that we have at the moment to China, to Iran, to I'm just waiting for the diplomatic meeting with North Korea.
Yeah. Well, let's get into that as you have jumped, and I don't mind you doing that. We're 6 days into, a proper shooting war rather than a proxy war between Israel and Iran. There are deaths on both sides. There is huge hope. And indeed, I read a pretty good piece in Stuff this morning from an Iranian leader of an Iranian women's group here in New Zealand. There is genuine hope that the regime in Iran will topple, the religious fundamentalist regime there, and be replaced by something more conducive to human rights and civilization. But the Israelis are suffering damage and death at a level they haven't seen. It kind of puts Gaza in perspective. I think we are kind of perceived, and I'll be talking to hopefully the Deputy Foreign Minister of Israel in an interview next week. I think we might be on the wrong side of this one, Maurice, or we just got caught with our pants down, being a bit pro the bad guys.
Well, I think best whenever you're looking at these things is to look at history. And when you've had a real despotic, evil leader, and I think you can do no better than look at Adolf Hitler, was it best to try to find a diplomatic solution and appease him and find a way through it? Or were you always going to end up, without doubt, having to go to war because the guy was never going to stop at his demands and where things went? Israel has had to live under these unbelievable threats, and the attack of October 7 and of a couple of years ago was just as ghastly. And in the end, this nation, when they are building uranium enrichment so far underground they can't, bunker bombs won't get to them, when the International Atomic Agency said they've gone past all of their remits for making it for peaceful purposes, I think you have to sit down and say, can we just let them carry on, get to a position where they can annihilate us?
Yeah. And
then you've got to say, I don't think we can. I think that this is about trying to establish peace in the world rather than if Iran ended up with nuclear-capable explosive materials on rockets, you're just talking of annihilation of places like Israel. And if they were this peace-loving, as they keep trying to claim, then how come the International Atomic Agency is saying...
They don't. They now go on the internet and say we're going to rain hell down. The world will never see anything like it. Bob?
Correct, and in which case, appeasement's never worked in the past.
So what were we doing with these meaningless sanctions, guys, against these two, admittedly not particularly nice, wouldn't have them round for dinner, cabinet ministers in Israel, which is a functional democracy? What were we doing, joining the finger pointing from a bunch of countries led by Norway, who wanted to go to a nice dinner party at the UN to talk about the two-state solution? It just looked like a ridiculous self-serving virtue signal, Bob.
Yeah, look, can I just touch on Iran because it is related? I saw some commentary on X where Iranians are saying, and I quote one, "It's so weird being Iranian right now, scrolling through my feed and seeing all my fellow Iranians praying for freedom," as Maurice was saying, "and seeing every white leftist and terrorist sympathiser praying the oppressor wins for humanity."
Yeah.
It's interesting commentary coming out from the Iranians. And look, I think I agree totally with what Maurice said. You know, the Iranian regime haven't even tried to hide the purpose of their nuclear program. They want to wipe Israel off the map. They're funding every anti-Israel group, including Hamas in Gaza. My statement is always, if Iran put their weapons down, there will be no more war. If Israel puts its weapons down, there'll be no more Israel. And that's what it.
Then
that's
why
what the Israeli
is it
people are
that
dealing with.
our foreign affairs can't see that? Why are we giving succor to the terrorists and to the Iranian regime by joining in on this ban on two guys who haven't been convicted of an international crime and don't plan to come to New Zealand anyway? What is that about?
Because we have a confused foreign policy, and I keep hearing that our policy is independent from the rest of the world and we determine it ourselves. But remember, this is the same Prime Minister of New Zealand who said he would arrest the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yeah, that was just
New Zealand.
But that was just typical Luxon being dumb stuff.
No, but we're buying into the group mentality. So the group mentality says we should ban these Israeli MPs. Now, look, from what I've heard, I would disagree with most of what they say. But the fact of the matter is they are democratically elected representatives of Israel. And so I'm assuming Maurice would understand this. When you are representing the country as an elected representative, we can't then just go around and say, oh, well, we don't agree with your beliefs, but we do agree with yours. Where do we draw the line?
Yeah.
Well, Sean, what I'd love to know is, has anybody let them know about this ban yet? Because they'll be shattered when they hear they can no longer come to New Zealand. I mean, they were probably planning to be here for Matariki. I reckon they were planning to be here for Matariki, and they'll be sitting back. I can't believe it. They have completely... Oh, this is outrageous.
Yeah, that's it. My world has ended. Maurice, I did think, and I've said on here, I thought rule number one of diplomacy, if you're not in dispute with a country, one of the rules amongst the Western democracies, I hope we're still one of them, is that you do not interfere with the domestic politics of another country.